Welcome to the History Uncovered, where we reveal history's hidden truths. Today, we journey back to the California gold rush to discover how miners actually lived during this legendary era. Support our channel by subscribing and following this remarkable story to its powerful conclusion. Let's uncover the harsh reality together. First, the perilous journey to California's gold fields. The year was 1849 when news of California gold spread like wildfire across America and beyond. Thousands abandoned their homes, families, and established lives to chase the promise of instant wealth. Men from every social class sold everything they owned to finance their westward journey. The overland route stretched nearly 2,000 miles through unforgiving wilderness and hostile territory. Wagon trains departed from Missouri, carrying hopeful miners equipped with provisions barely sufficient for survival. Death stalked every mile as cholera, dysentery, and accidents claimed countless lives before reaching California. Those choosing the sea route faced equally terrifying prospects aboard overcrowded vessels sailing dangerous waters. Ships navigated around Cape Horn through violent storms that shattered masts and swept men overboard. Passengers endured months of seasickness, contaminated food, and despair in cramped conditions below deck. The Panama shortcut offered faster passage, but introduced deadly tropical diseases into the equation. Miners crossed the isthmus through thick jungle where yellow fever and malaria waited patiently. Many who survived the jungle perished waiting for northbound ships on Panama's Pacific coast. Regardless of chosen path, arriving in California marked merely the beginning of hardship. The gold regions lay inland, requiring additional grueling travel through mountainous terrain without proper roads. Exhausted miners stumbled into camps, having already spent most of their meager funds. Their dreams of easy riches evaporated upon witnessing the stark reality of mining operations. Veterans laughed bitterly at newcomers clutching pans and shovels, knowing fortunes rarely materialized easily. The competition for claims had already transformed once abundant fields into fiercely contested territories. Prices for basic necessities skyrocketed beyond imagination in these remote goldfield communities. A simple egg cost $1, equivalent to $50 in modern currency. Miners quickly realized their savings would vanish before finding significant amounts of precious metal. Desperation settled over many who discovered themselves trapped without funds to return home. These men faced an impossible choice between dangerous mining work or complete destitution. The journey that promised liberation had delivered them into another form of captivity. Yet still they came by thousands, driven by hope and tales of lucky strikes. Each new arrival renewed the cycle of aspiration, struggle, and frequent disappointment. California's goldfields became a monument to human ambition and the cruel unpredictability of fortune. Second, primitive living conditions in mining camps. Mining camps materialized overnight wherever gold deposits appeared, lacking any semblance of urban planning. Canvas tents and crude wooden shacks clustered together in muddy clearings surrounded by forests. These temporary structures offered minimal protection against California's extreme weather fluctuations and seasonal elements. Men slept on hard ground with only thin blankets separating them from cold earth. The fortunate ones constructed rough wooden platforms to elevate themselves above standing water. Bedbugs, lice, and fleas infested every dwelling, making peaceful sleep nearly impossible. Sanitation remained virtually non-existent in these hastily assembled communities teeming with thousands of inhabitants. Human waste accumulated in open pits dangerously close to water sources used for drinking. The stench of unwashed bodies, rotting garbage, and animal carcasses permeated the entire camp. Privacy became an impossible luxury in overcrowded camps where men lived stacked together. Personal space measured mere feet in all directions, creating constant friction between exhausted miners. Arguments erupted regularly over trivial matters, amplified by cramped conditions and frayed nerves. Cooking facilities consisted of open fires where miners prepared monotonous meals from limited ingredients. Beans, bacon, and hardtack bread comprised the standard diet repeated endlessly without variation. Fresh vegetables and fruits remained expensive rarities, contributing to widespread nutritional deficiencies and scurvy. Clothing deteriorated rapidly under harsh mining conditions without replacement options readily available at reasonable prices. Men wore the same garments for months until fabric literally disintegrated from their bodies. Shoes fell apart, leaving miners working barefoot in freezing streams or burning summer dust. Water sources became contaminated quickly by upstream mining operations dumping mercury and other pollutants. Miners drank from the same streams they used for washing, mining, and waste disposal. This contamination cycle guaranteed regular outbreaks of waterborne diseases throughout every camp. Winter transformed camps into frozen nightmares, where inadequate shelters provided little warmth against snow. Men huddled around fires burning scarce firewood, suffering frostbite and hypothermia throughout long nights. Many perished quietly in their sleep, discovered frozen in the morning by shocked companions. Summer brought different torments, including suffocating heat, clouds of biting insects, and dust storms. Forest fires swept through dry camps with terrifying speed, consuming everything in their path. Miners learned to sleep lightly, ready to flee at any moment from natural disasters. Third, backbreaking labor and mining techniques. Gold mining demanded relentless physical labor from dawn until darkness made work impossible. Miners stood waist-deep in frigid mountain streams for 12 hours daily, panning sediment endlessly. The repetitive motion of swirling hands destroyed shoulders, backs, and knees within months. Hydraulic mining operations blasted hillsides with powerful water jets, creating environmental devastation and dangerous conditions. Workers operated primitive equipment that frequently malfunctioned, causing serious injuries from flying debris. The deafening roar of water cannons damaged hearing permanently for those working closest. Underground shaft mining presented the most dangerous occupation imaginable in an already perilous profession. Miners descended into unstable tunnels, supported only by rough timber that rotted and collapsed. Darkness, suffocating air, and constant flooding made every shift a potential death sentence. Cave-ins buried men alive regularly, their screams muffled by tons of collapsing earth. Rescue attempts often failed, leaving bodies entombed permanently in unmarked graves within the mountains. Survivors carried psychological scars alongside physical injuries for the remainder of their shortened lives. Mercury amalgamation processes exposed miners to deadly toxins absorbed through skin and lungs daily. This poisonous metal accumulated in bodies, causing tremors, madness, and eventual organ failure. Many miners displayed symptoms of mercury poisoning but continued working, having no alternative income source. Rock crushing and ore processing created choking dust clouds laden with silica particles. Miners inhaled this deadly powder constantly, developing chronic respiratory diseases that killed slowly. Coughing blood became so common that men barely acknowledged it as abnormal anymore. Explosives used for blasting rock posed constant danger from premature detonations and misfires. Inexperienced miners lost limbs, eyesight, and lives handling unstable black powder carelessly. Even successful blasts sent razor-sharp rock fragments flying like shrapnel through confined spaces. Equipment failures caused horrific accidents, including crushed limbs from falling machinery and equipment. Medical treatment remained primitive at best, with amputations performed without anesthesia in camp. Infection killed more injured miners than the original accidents that wounded them. Despite these dangers, Men continued working because stopping meant starvation in camps far from civilization. The cruel mathematics of survival forced them into mines each morning regardless of fear. Gold fever proved stronger than rational self-preservation instincts in desperate men. Fourth, social dynamics and camp life. Mining camps attracted men from countless nations, creating unprecedented multicultural communities across California's gold fields. Americans, Chinese, Mexicans, Europeans, and others competed for claims amid rising ethnic tensions. Language barriers and cultural misunderstandings frequently escalated into violence between rival groups. Gambling dens and saloons dominated camp social life, offering temporary escape from brutal reality. Miners squandered hard-earned gold dust on cards, dice, and watered-down whiskey at inflated prices. These establishments enriched shrewd operators while keeping miners perpetually broke and dependent. Women remained rare in early mining camps, numbering perhaps 1 for every 100 men. Those present worked as cooks, laundresses, or entertainers, commanding extraordinary prices for their services. Their presence caused intense competition and jealousy among lonely miners starved for female companionship. Violence erupted constantly over disputed claims, personal insults, and accumulated frustrations from harsh conditions. Fistfights occurred daily, while knife fights and shootings happened weekly without legal consequences. Camp justice operated through vigilante committees that hanged suspected thieves with minimal investigation. Theft represented the most despised crime in communities where men's survival depended on tools. Convicted thieves faced brutal punishments including whipping, branding, and ear cropping before banishment. These savage penalties reflected desperation to maintain minimal order in lawless frontier society. Mail delivery became sacred ritual connecting isolated miners to distant families and abandoned lives. Men gathered eagerly when postal riders arrived, hoping for letters that often never came. Those receiving news from home treasured worn envelopes, rereading messages until paper disintegrated. Entertainment options remained limited to storytelling, crude theatrical performances, and occasional traveling musicians. Miners shared tales of their journeys, embellishing adventures to maintain morale among listeners. These gatherings provided crucial psychological relief from grinding monotony and physical exhaustion. Racial discrimination created hierarchical social structures that relegated Chinese and Mexican miners to marginal claims. White miners passed discriminatory laws, excluding foreigners from profitable areas they had discovered first. This injustice sparked resentment and occasional violent resistance from oppressed mining communities. Despite tensions, practical cooperation emerged when disasters threatened entire camps from floods or fires. Men worked together frantically during emergencies, temporarily forgetting ethnic divisions and personal rivalries. These moments revealed humanity's capacity for solidarity, even in brutally competitive environments. Fifth, disease, danger, and daily survival. Epidemic diseases swept through camps regularly, killing miners faster than mining accidents ever could. Cholera, typhoid, and dysentery spread rapidly through contaminated water supplies, shared by thousands. Makeshift hospitals filled with dying men receiving minimal care from overwhelmed and unqualified attendants. Scurvy afflicted miners who subsisted on preserved foods devoid of essential vitamins for months. Teeth loosened and fell out, while old wounds reopened spontaneously across weakened bodies. Severe cases resulted in internal bleeding and death from vitamin deficiency entirely preventable with vegetables. Malaria-plagued camps located near stagnant water where mosquitoes bred prolifically during warm months. Infected miners suffered recurring fevers, chills, and delirium that incapacitated them for weeks. Without quinine or proper treatment, many succumbed after their constitutions weakened from repeated attacks. Mental illness emerged frequently, among isolated men subjected to constant stress and disappointment. Depression, anxiety, and psychotic breaks occurred regularly, but received no compassionate treatment or understanding. Afflicted miners either recovered independently, committed suicide, or wandered away into wilderness never seen again. Malnutrition weakened immune systems, making miners vulnerable to infections that healthy bodies easily resisted. Minor cuts festered into gangrenous infections, requiring amputation or causing fatal blood poisoning. The absence of antiseptics and antibiotics transformed trivial injuries into death sentences regularly. Alcoholism ravaged camps as miners self-medicated against physical pain and psychological trauma with liquor. Chronic drunkenness led to accidents, violence, and cirrhosis at epidemic rates among populations. Saloon owners profited enormously from addiction, while communities deteriorated under alcohol's devastating influence. Loneliness and homesickness tormented men separated from families by thousands of miles for years. Letters from home describing births, deaths, and life events they missed inflicted profound emotional pain. Some abandoned mining entirely, accepting poverty to reunite with loved ones they desperately missed. The mortality rate in mining camps exceeded any contemporary American community by staggering margins. Young, healthy men arrived optimistically, but aged decades within months under relentless hardship. Graveyards expanded daily with crude markers commemorating forgotten dreams buried alongside their dreamers. Yet survivors demonstrated remarkable resilience, adapting to conditions that would destroy lesser individuals completely. They developed survival strategies, mutual aid networks, and psychological coping mechanisms for enduring hell. These men emerged transformed, carrying scars and stories that defined America's westward expansion. The California gold rush miners endured unimaginable hardships, chasing dreams that rarely materialized into reality. Their story reveals human determination, suffering, and resilience during America's most transformative era. Thank you for watching the History Uncovered. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more untold historical truths that shaped our world today.